Well, good afternoon. Oh, come on now. I have cousins in Iowa who are watching, the Mack family. Good afternoon. Let them hear you in Iowa. Oh, now that's better. That is so much better. For those of you that don't know, I'm Carolyn Booker. I'm Cory Booker's mom. And I am just so excited to be here. This is a hometown kickoff of Cory's campaign for the presidency of the United States. Wow! Wow! Oh, so to be a part of it is just so special. Now, Cory, there's a joke that he always tells that says behind every accomplished child is an astonished parent, okay? And I just want you to know that I am indeed astonished. But I'm thrilled and exceedingly proud of Cory. That's right, absolutely. You know, almost 6 years ago, Cory was elected to the United States Senate as the 4th ever elected African American in our country's history. Wow. And this historic election to the Senate, why, it came less than a week after Cory's father, my husband, Cory, who many of you know, had passed away. Now, for over 25 years, Cory's father fought Parkinson's disease. And during that time, our entire family became primary caregivers. So it was our honor, and it was a great labor of love. And I think that is part of what drives Cory's commitment to affordable health care and supporting families who are in the caregiving cycle. Right. So when Cory was getting sworn in to the U.S. Senate, I knew that I needed to represent both myself and my husband, Cory, who might never have imagined this day. I also wanted to include the ancestors who aren't with us today, but on whose shoulders we stand. So just minutes before Cory was sworn in to the U.S. Senate, we were standing waiting in the beautiful chamber just outside the Senate floor in the Capitol building. It was an emotional and thrilling moment. And I turned to him then and reminded him of the old saying, "It's not titles that honor people, but people that honor titles." Now, I can tell by all that he's done as a senator that the significance of that phrase struck with him. I have watched Cory fight for this community. I have watched Cory fight for this state. And I have watched Cory fight alongside Americans across the country who are fighting for a better life for themselves and their families. Now, throughout his entire life, I have just watched Cory dedicate himself to servant. He's a servant leader. When he graduated from law school, he could have gone anywhere. He came here to Newark to work as a tenants' right lawyer. He served as a city councilman, then mayor, and now senator. And I am so proud of all that he has achieved, and more importantly, of all of the good he has done and the many lives that he has changed. I really, when I say it with great sincerity. I am so proud that Cory will spend the next 2 weeks traveling across the country to talk to Americans about the issues he has fought for his entire life. and how we can work together to build a more just country for all. I know that Cory will be the kind of president whose leadership will bring our country together in the face of difficult challenges. Cory will be the kind of president who doesn't just lead people, but will listen to the people. And Cory will be the kind of president whose character makes us all proud of him and of our country. Had the honor of witnessing and participating in historic moments in my own life. From attending Fisk University, one of our HBCUs, during the civil rights era, where Diane Nash and John Lewis were my classmates, and participating in protests and sit-ins in both Nashville and Charlottesville, that has been back in the news recently. In the 60s, we did these things, and I also was fortunate enough to help plan the March on Washington in 1963. Yes. And hear Dr. King tell the world about his dream, which is now our dream. And I am honored to play a small part in this historic moment on this day, when I tell Cory for the second time before a big moment in his life, on behalf of myself and my husband, his father, that indeed it is not titles that honor people, but people that honor titles. So here is to Cory. I know that he will honor the title of president with bold leadership, good character, and conviction. And so it is my honor to introduce to you the next president of the United States of America, my son, Cory Booker.
All right, New Jersey! All right. Thank you. Thank you. I have to start by just giving thank you. Thank you. All right. I want to start off. Did my mom do a great job? I want to thank my mother. It was her example all my life. Her example of grace and courage and service. It's her love, which is a reason why I'm here today. I wish my dad could be here, and in my heart, I believe he is here, as you said. We're here today to seek justice. We're here today because we are impatient for that justice. And our sense of moral urgency, our impatience, comes from the most demanding of all values. It comes from love. Love of our families, love of our communities, love of our country, and love of each other. You know, the mayor was right. Newark, brick city. This community taught me all about that love. It's not that feel-good, easygoing love. It is strong, courageous love. It is defiant love. The kind of love that works through heartbreak and pain and betrayal. It's the kind of love that keeps on going and never gives up. It's the kind of love that sacrifices, the kind of love that is essential to achieving justice. I learned right here on these streets that you can't make progress by dividing people. It can't make progress by stoking fear or setting us one against the other. I learned that the only way to overcome the really tough challenges is by extending grace, finding common ground, and working together. And we know this, that today so many of us are hurting. So many of us are understandably angry. So many of us are feeling afraid for our futures and our families. Too many people believe the forces tearing us apart are stronger than the bonds that hold us together. Well, I don't believe that. I believe we will bring our country together. I believe we will achieve things that other people say are impossible. I believe we will make justice real for all people. And that is why I am running for President of the United States of America. And let me tell you, we are a great nation because of all our people. And to the people across the country who don't speak English as their first language, I want to say to many of you, yo voy a ser un presidente para todo nuestra gente en nuestro país. I will be a president for all people in America. When I arrived here in Newark over 20 years ago to work as a tenant rights lawyer, I found a city with challenges that some folk said were intractable. But we in Newark refused to believe that any problem is too hard to solve if we tackle it together. We were a community impatient for justice. Newark has always been a community impatient for justice. A community that knew, in the words of Dr. King, wait has almost always meant never. And in communities like ours, and frankly in communities all across this country, wait still too frequently means never. Wait for clean water, wait for decent paying jobs, wait for better schools, wait your turn, wait. Well, here in Newark, we refuse to wait. When this incredible city took a chance on me as their mayor, the chief executive of this city, New Jersey's largest city, I didn't wait to start bringing people together. We didn't just talk about the injustice of families not having heat in the coldest months of the year. We took on the slumlords and doubled the rate of affordable housing production right here. We didn't just talk about the injustice. We didn't just wait to talk about the injustice of people not being able to buy fresh fruits and vegetables. We opened grocery stores in food deserts. We got people to invest here. We opened new businesses here. We created thousands of jobs here together. And after 60 years of decline, look around you. Newark is growing again. And New Jersey, when you sent me to Washington as your senator, I brought those lessons with me. Politics in D.C. are broken, but we still found ways to bring people together and get things done. After decades of criminal justice system moving in the wrong direction, I led a bipartisan effort to write and pass the first meaningful reform in a generation. And I worked with Republicans and Democrats to write and then pass a law that is bringing billions of dollars of investment to low-income urban and rural communities that have for too long been left out and left behind. There are so many places like that across America, not just cities like this one, farm communities and factory towns that, like us here in Newark, have been given up on and talked down to, counted out and underestimated. And they can't wait for change. None of us can. We are here today to say we can't wait. When powerful forces are turning their prejudice into policy and rolling back the rights that generations of Americans fought for and heroes died for. We can't wait when this administration is throwing children fleeing violence into cages, banning Muslims from entering the nation founded on religious liberty, and preventing brave transgender Americans from serving the country they love. And we can't wait because many of our most serious challenges as a nation were with us long before Donald Trump entered the White House. We can't wait because we have a criminal justice system that, in the words of my friend Brian Stevenson, treats you better if you're rich and guilty than if you're poor and innocent. A system so deeply baked with bias that it ruthlessly discriminates against black people and brown people and low-income people with mental illnesses, folks with addiction. We can't wait when we have an economy where people who work 2 or 3 jobs pick up extra shifts where they can, and they still can't pay the bills. Profits are soaring while wages for most Americans have barely budged. Massive corporations have taken over entire industries, killing off competition, driving out innovation, squeezing out small businesses. And American family farmers, our first entrepreneurs, are disappearing at a disturbing rate. We have had decades of unjust policies that have destroyed our economy and extracted money from our common wealth and plowed it into tax cuts for the wealthy and wars overseas we didn't have to fight, instead of investing in the things we all know grow our economy and create more opportunity for all, like education and infrastructure. And that's why, when I am President of the United States, we won't wait. We won't wait for criminal justice reform. We will end the system of mass incarceration in America. We will invest in people, their education, their mental health, treating addiction. We will end the school-to-prison pipeline. And we will empower the formerly incarcerated with jobs and opportunity, not a slippery slope back to jail and prison. And we won't wait to legalize marijuana at the federal level. But that is not enough. We will push states to do the same, invest in the communities that have been devastated by the decades-long failed war on drugs. And we will expunge the records of those who have already been convicted. We won't wait. We won't wait for more thoughts and prayers. for communities that have been shattered by gun violence. From Pittsburgh to Parkland to Charleston to communities where kids fear the fireworks of 4th of July because to them they sound like gunshots. We will pass universal background checks. We will ban assault weapons and close the loopholes that allow people who should never have a gun to get one. And folks, we will bring a fight to the NRA like they have never, ever seen before. And we will win. We won't wait to meet the challenge and the crisis of climate change because we have no other choice. We will build a clean energy economy. We will hold polluters accountable and ensure that every child can drink the water from their sink and breathe the air in their neighborhood without getting sick. We won't wait for inclusive economic justice. We will fight against the onslaught of attacks on workers' rights in America. You see, it was my grandfather's union job that helped my mom and my family move from poverty into the middle class. And we will protect that pathway for workers who are now seeing their rights eroded. We will build an opportunity economy where there are good paying jobs and fair wages in every neighborhood, and where the dignity of work is respected, where benefits are secure and portable, so you can change jobs or start a new business with confidence, and where small businesses can be, as they always have been, the main engines of job growth and economic growth in America. And we will change, we will close the racial wealth gap in America. Because we can't be blind to the impact of generations of racism and white supremacy that were written into our laws over centuries. That's why we will create a federally funded savings account for every child born in America that starts at birth. And as they grow up, it'll give the lowest income kids in our country up to $50,000 to pay for college, put a down payment on a home, or jumpstart a small business. We won't wait to deliver a great education to every child. We will fully fund public schools. And that especially includes special needs education. And we will ensure that the most valuable profession in any democracy, we will make sure that public school teachers get the pay increases they deserve, the resources they need, and their student loan debt is forgiven. We won't wait to expand pathways to opportunity for all young people. We will make college affordable. We will invest in and strengthen our HBCUs. And we will create the world's greatest system of apprenticeship and training programs right here in America. We won't wait to fix our broken healthcare system, because in America, healthcare is a right. I will fight for Medicare for all, and I will start with lowering the age of Medicare eligibility and giving Americans a real public option. I will use the government's bargaining power to once and for all bring down the cost of prescription drugs. And I will once and for all end the sabotage of the Affordable Care Act. We won't wait to fix our broken immigration system, because in America, immigration is and always has been a source of strength. We will pass comprehensive immigration reform. We will create a pathway to citizenship for all those living in the United States, and we will protect our dreamers and make them what they already are, citizens of the United States of America. We will end the moral vandalism of family separation and have an immigration system that affirms our values. We won't wait to stop the dangerous assault on women's rights. Women will have reproductive justice. We are Americans. Women must have the freedom to make decisions about their own bodies and economic futures. As your president, I will appoint Supreme Court justices who will defend Roe v. Wade. And we will take on the systemic challenges that disproportionately affect women and hold back our entire country. We will fight for equal pay, affordable child care, and finally establish a national paid family and medical leave program for our country. And we will build in our country, starting with the highest office in the land and all across our nation, we will build a culture where men respect women, where sexual assault and harassment are no longer swept under the rug, and future generations don't have to raise their hand to say, "Me too." We won't wait any longer for equal justice under the law. We will pass the Equality Act and ensure that LGBTQ Americans are protected under federal civil rights law. We will pursue a new Voting Rights Act, end gerrymandering, and get the dark money out of politics once and for all. And unlike this president, I won't ignore or give license to white supremacy. I will put more resources towards protecting our country from it. And we will no longer wait for America to stand up for justice around the world. We will strengthen our alliances and defend human rights, not coddle dictators or squander America's moral authority. As Commander-in-Chief, there is nothing I will take more seriously than the responsibility to protect our nation and keep faith with the people who wear our uniform. We call ourselves the home of the brave. But when our brave veterans come home, we need to make sure that they have a home. We will end veterans' homelessness. Veterans deserve everything they fought so bravely for: health care, education, and good paying jobs. The only way we build a nation of liberty and justice for all is by doing it together. We have to decide whether we will choose division and blame, or if we will do the hard work of conquering fear with faith, apathy with action, and hatred with love. But we know the challenges. We know that there are forces at work at home and abroad trying to get us to fight the wrong way and on their terms. From 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue to the Kremlin. We know what their strategy is. It's to pit us against each other for their own gain, to make us suspicious of one another, to make us fear each other, dislike each other, to make us hate each other. That's how they win. Now, critics are going to tell you and tell all of us that a campaign powered by grace and love and a deep faith in each other can't beat that. But I say it's the only way we win. You see, the president wants a race to the gutter and to fight us in the gutter. But to win, we have to fight from higher ground in order to bring this country to higher ground. So we can't allow them to divide us. And we must also resist the urge to divide ourselves. Because the people on my block, the people gathered here, and folks all across the country can't wait. They can't afford a politics of division that sacrifices progress for purity. They can't afford to allow this election to become just an exercise in political posturing or box-checking competition that is completely divorced from the realities of so many people who are struggling and hurting. Look, I'm the only senator who comes home to a low-income, inner-city, beautiful community. And I know, and you know, that we don't have the privilege to wait for what fits into someone else's narrow view of what it means to be a progressive. Our first priority must be to make people's lives better. Right now, to move the ball forward how best we can, as fast as we can, and to ensure that those folks that are closest to the pain and closest to the struggle have an active hand in defining how we confront it. A real progressive movement refuses to stall out in righteous indignation. It channels that indignation into the work that actually improves people's lives. A real progressive movement does not hold progress for communities like mine hostage today for promises that perfection will come tomorrow. We are the inheritors of those kind of movements. Movements of committed Americans who came together gathering just like we are now. This has been the truth of generations of people in our country who in moments of great moral crisis and great moral challenge summoned great moral imagination. They did not surrender to the seduction of hatred. They fought with a defiant love, and when they rose, our nation rose with them. I'm here today, we are here today because of those kinds of movements. As many of you know, I wasn't born here in Newark. When I was a baby, my mom, who you saw, with my dad, they tried to move into a neighborhood in Harrington Park, New Jersey, about 20 miles up the road from here. They moved there attracted by the public schools, its proximity to New York, but real estate agents, they refused to sell us a home because of the color of our skin. And what would have been that, us denied housing, didn't happen because of a group of activists that came together. A young black activist who was the head of the Fair Housing Council, and a group of white volunteers and lawyers who had watched and been inspired by the courage of civil rights marchers. They worked to help black families in their community come together, and they stood up against the illegal housing discrimination that my parents faced, and they won. And they changed the course of my entire life. And so when you grow up with a mom like mine, they made sure that my brother and I never forgot what it took to get us to where we are. They said, like all of us in this generation, that we could never pay back what has been done for us, but we could, and we had to, pay it forward. What my parents wanted us to do was to understand the urgency of the work still left to do in our country. They wanted us to understand that in the face of injustice, there must be struggle. There is no wait, because all of us stand on the shoulders of giants, generations before, who did not wait. And so here we are. 56 years ago this very morning, a young preacher woke up in a jail cell in Alabama because he and so many other young people had joined together to take on the toughest challenges of their day, a fight others called impossible to win. They joined with local activists and eventually folks from all around the country to confront a city where injustice and division were literally written into the law. He was arrested on Good Friday morning while demonstrating against segregation. And on this very date, Saturday, April 13th, in 1963, Martin Luther King woke up in that jail cell in Birmingham. That same jail cell where he wrote on the margins of a newspaper that had been smuggled into him, he wrote this letter, these words: "For years now, I have heard the word wait. This wait has almost always meant never. We come to see that justice too long delayed is justice denied." Martin Luther King, on this date in history, he spoke to the possibility of what we can achieve when we realize our own power and when we refuse to wait. The children of Birmingham and a man named King, joining arms with others, showed what was possible when they refused to wait and confronted dogs and fire hoses, when they confronted and defeated Bull Connor and brought down segregation in their city. America, we know our history. It is a perpetual testimony to impatient, demanding, unrelenting people who in every generation with love stood up for justice. Generations of Americans have shown us what was possible when they refused to wait, and now it is our turn. And we have work to do. America, we can't wait. America, we will not wait. Together, we will run at the tough challenges. Together, we will do the things that other people say are impossible. Together, we will fulfill our pledge to be a nation of liberty and justice for all. Together, we will win. And together,